Welcome to Whispers and Confessions. There might be a twist waiting, so please make sure to watch until the end. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Let's begin right away.
Soon after, the room's lights snapped on. Ethan must have hit the switch. The sudden brightness made me squint. As our forms became visible, an awkward pause hung in the air. Cynthia lay on the rug, her blonde hair wet and messy from sweat. Her skin shone pale and sleek in the moonlight. Her chest rose and fell rapidly, showing her rapid breathing. Her nude form, with its lithe, graceful curves, radiated a striking beauty, enhanced by the bold glint in her eyes. Her body glistened with sweat, her legs quivering slightly. As the sun began to set and the sky turned a warm orange, I headed with my wife, Elizabeth, to a quiet alley in an old part of town where our favorite spot, Smith's Bar, was nestled. This was our go-to place every weekend. When we stepped inside, we were greeted by the warm, welcoming smiles of the bar's owners, Nolan and his wife, Cynthia, from behind the counter. Our friendship with them had grown close over 3 years. Cynthia and Elizabeth had met at a cooking class we both attended, and it was Cynthia who first invited us to this bar, sparking our connection. The whiskey Nolan poured was always top-notch, and Cynthia's dishes, with their comforting flavors and refined touch, were simply irresistible. Both of them were in their mid-30s, a few years older than us. "Jason, the usual bourbon tonight?" Nolan asked with a friendly smile. "Yeah, thanks," I replied, taking a seat at the counter. Elizabeth and I sat side by side, savoring our drinks. Her brown eyes glimmered in the candlelight. Small plates of tapas, made by Cynthia, started arriving at our table. That evening, the bar was unusually quiet, with no other customers but us. Nolan, having a moment to spare, joined us for a chat. "Honestly, we were planning to close up tonight," Cynthia said in a teasing voice, her blonde hair shining under the soft lights. "But when we heard you and Elizabeth were coming, we decided to stay open for you." "Oh, we've caused you some trouble, haven't we?" Elizabeth said with a laugh, her voice tinged with mischief. "No problem at all. A special opening just for us? That's pretty exciting, don't you think?" Cynthia replied, winking. The four of us dove into conversation, and the drinks never stopped. The talk grew freer, more candid. By the time Nolan refilled our glasses for the third round, he dropped a surprising question. "How long have you two been married?" About 5 years." I answered, and Nolan shared a look with Cynthia. There was a playful spark in his eyes. "We're at 7, he said. "When you've been together that long, you start thinking about all kinds of things." Cynthia added, "Marriage is a curious thing, isn't it? You love each other, but sometimes you hit a rut, or you just crave something fresh." Her voice was soft, but there was a suggestive edge to it. Elizabeth nodded, her cheeks glowing from the whiskey. She set her glass down and gave a small smile. "You're right. Sometimes you just want to shake things up." "Speaking of which," Cynthia said, pausing meaningfully, "I heard something interesting from a friend recently." She let her words hang, and feeling the whiskey's warmth, I had a gut feeling about what she was hinting at. The word swinging wasn't spoken, but the air was electric with the idea. Elizabeth set her glass down and met Cynthia's gaze. Her look reflected hesitation, curiosity, and a touch of apprehension, like they were sharing a silent understanding. Nolan spoke up, his voice low and steady. "Sometimes, don't you think a little excitement could do us good?" His words, steady as they were, stirred the air. The bar went quiet for a second. I tossed back my whiskey, trying to ease the newfound tension. My pulse raced. "Nolan, can I get another?" I said, keeping my voice casual. He grinned and picked up the bottle. "Of course. Tonight feels like it's going to be special." His eyes sparkled with mischief. As the night wore on, our conversation grew freer. What started as playful chatter gradually turned into a serious proposition. "What if it's just a one-time thing?" Cynthia whispered, her voice low and alluring. "No one else will know. It'll be our little secret, just the four of us." Elizabeth looked at me without saying a word. Her gaze reflected hesitation, curiosity, and a touch of apprehension. She spoke barely above a whisper. "Jason, what do you think?" I was at a loss for words. Honestly, a flicker of curiosity stirred in me. The allure of a new experience was challenging my morals. But looking into Elizabeth's eyes, I could see she was grappling with the same doubts. "If everyone's okay with it." I started hesitantly, but before I could finish, Nolan stood up. "How about we move to the back room? It's more comfortable there," he said, his tone steady but firm. Cynthia dimmed the bar's lights, her silhouette all the more alluring in the low glow. The four of us walked to the back without a word. When we opened the door, we found a small room with a wooden floor covered by a soft rug. Moonlight spilled soft light everywhere. We sat down quietly, none of us knowing how to begin. My pulse raced. Cynthia stood and turned off the room's lights completely. "This might make things easier," she said, her voice carrying softly through the dark. In the dark, I could feel others nearby. I tried to pick up Elizabeth's breathing, but she was no longer beside me. Instead, an unfamiliar scent drifted closer. It was Cynthia. Her fingers grazed my arm gently. Her scent was sweet and warm. "Nervous?" she whispered, her breath tickling my ear. "Yeah, a little," I admitted, my voice wavering. "It's okay. Let's take it slow," she said, her tone gentle and reassuring. In another corner of the dark room, I picked up on Elizabeth and Nolan. They must have been exploring each other, just as we were. Cynthia's hand brushed across my chest, and the touch sparked a thrill in me. She leaned closer and whispered, "Just feel it." Her lips met mine. They were soft, warm, and unlike Elizabeth's, unfamiliar and electrifying. A twinge of guilt struck me, but it was swept away by a surge of excitement. Her hand slid around my neck, pulling me deeper into the kiss. As her body pressed against mine, I could feel every curve. Her soft skin, her warmth, her breath, they set every nerve alight. My hands naturally slid to her waist. Her skin was smooth and warm. She whispered in my ear, "This is our dream for tonight, Jason." Her voice was honeyed and alluring, and I couldn't resist any longer. In the darkness, our bodies moved closer. Her fingers began unbuttoning my shirt, each undone button making my heart race. Her touch was assured but gentle. My hands slid up the hem of her dress, running along her smooth, toned thighs. She let out a soft moan and pressed herself closer. In that moment, all doubts vanished. Her lips grazed my neck, the hot, moist touch making my whole body tremble. Her hands slid down my back, urging me closer with raw passion. I slipped her dress off, revealing her bare skin, which seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. Her breathing quickened. I heard Elizabeth's moan in the dark. She and Nolan were drawing nearer. Strangely, instead of jealousy, I felt a strange rush. Cynthia's hands roamed my body, touching with both daring and grace. Her lips planted kisses along my chest, her breath hot against my skin. Our bodies melded together. Her soft curves pressed against me, igniting waves of pleasure in me. Her movements were fluid and fervent. Her moans rang in my ears. "Jason," she called my name, pulling me closer. I gripped her hips, and we became one. Her hot, all-consuming embrace overwhelmed me completely. Time slipped away. Cynthia's body pressed against mine, her warm skin wrapping around me. Her hands fearlessly traced every curve, boldly roaming my body. Her breath was heated and quick, her moans growing louder in my ear. Each time her curves met my body, surges of pleasure washed over me. This raw ecstasy, long overdue, set every nerve ablaze. Elizabeth's distant presence brushed my awareness. Her soft moans suggested her intimacy with Ethan. A twinge of unease hit me. What was Elizabeth feeling right now? How was her body responding to Ethan's touch? Was it different from what she felt with me? Curiosity and a hint of worry swirled in my head. How was Cynthia different from Elizabeth? Her skin, her breath, her reactions, how did they stand apart? As I explored this unfamiliar woman, my heart was torn between curiosity and anxiety. Cynthia's hands clutched my back, drawing me near with passion. Her lips scattered heated kisses across my chest, her tongue brushing my skin, stirring my body instantly. Jason, she whispered my name, her arms curling around my waist. Her legs locked us as one, joining us tightly. Her hot, welcoming embrace surrounded me completely. In that moment, everything else vanished, leaving only her, me, and this boundless pleasure. Her movements were fluid yet raw. Her moans grew louder, calling my name, driving my desire to the edge. This intense physical joy, long overdue, flooded my senses. Yet, a hint of worry about Elizabeth stayed with me. Her moans echoed around me. What was her moment with Ethan like? The thought of her body responding to another's touch was both fascinating and unnerving. Cynthia's hand stroked my cheek, pulling me back to her. Her eyes blazed with passion, and I was completely enthralled. Her skin was paler and smoother than Elizabeth's. Her body was lithe and supple, her movements radiating confidence. The contact with her was new yet thrilling. Her moans, unlike Elizabeth's soft voice, were bold and provocative. I was wholly immersed in this new sensation. The peak neared. Cynthia's body shuddered fiercely, her nails biting into my back. Her breath flooded my ear as she called my name. Jason. Her body writhed, her ecstasy cresting. Her hot embrace gripped me, unleashing a fierce rush of bliss. At that moment, I reached my limit. A powerful surge of pleasure raced through me, overwhelming everything. This untamed ecstasy, finally unleashed, rattled me to my core. We held each other tightly, basking in the afterglow, soaking in the warmth. Yet, even in that calm, thoughts of Elizabeth's moment with Ethan nagged at me. Soon after, the room's lights snapped on. Ethan must have hit the switch. The sudden brightness made me squint. As our forms became visible, an awkward pause hung in the air. Cynthia lay on the rug, her blonde hair wet and messy from sweat. Her skin shone pale and sleek in the moonlight. Her chest rose and fell rapidly, showing her rapid breathing. Her nude form, with its lithe, graceful curves, radiated a striking beauty, enhanced by the bold glint in her eyes. Her body glistened with sweat, her legs quivering slightly. Elizabeth, on the other hand, sat in a corner of the room. Her brown hair fell gently over her shoulders, and her skin shone with a warm, golden tone. Unlike Cynthia's slender figure, her nude body flaunted soft, full curves. Her breasts moved softly with her breaths, and her thighs glowed with a warm, inviting warmth. Her cheeks were rosy, her eyes a blend of contentment and mild uncertainty. Seeing her, my heart pounded with anxiety. What was her time with Ethan like? Did her look hold love for me, or confusion from this new encounter? I couldn't tell. Shall we have some coffee? Cynthia murmured, standing up. Her voice was still confident, but it held a soft warmth. We dressed and returned to the bar counter. Surprisingly, the vibe felt looser and freer than before. Yet, a part of me was still tangled in curiosity and worry about Elizabeth's experience. So what did everyone think of this? Nolan asked, raising his glass with a cheeky smile. I paused before answering truthfully. It was eye-opening, honestly, but it made me realize Elizabeth is the one for me. Elizabeth took my hand and smiled. I feel the same, Jason. Her voice was soft and sure. Cynthia and Nolan echoed the same feelings. We respected each other and confirmed our devotion to our partners. Let's make this a one-off, Cynthia said firmly. A single memory to treasure. We all nodded. This night would be kept just between us four. On the walk home, I hooked arms with Elizabeth. Under the starlight, her face seemed at peace. Any regrets? I asked carefully. She shook her head. No, but this was the first and last time. Her voice was steady but soft. Same here, I said, squeezing her hand. That night, as I held her in bed, her warmth and fragrance comforted me. Our bond seemed stronger, like our trust and connection had grown. The next morning, waking up, last night's events seemed dreamlike. Elizabeth was in the kitchen, preparing breakfast as usual. Her face glowed with calm. Head back to Smith's Bar soon? She asked, pouring coffee. Definitely. But as regular customers, I said with a smile. She laughed. Right. Still, we've got a unique bond with those two now. Closer friendship, you mean? Yeah, a unique kind of friendship. We eased back into our routine, but deep down, the memory of that night stayed with us silently. When the weekend came, we returned to Smith's Bar. Nolan and Cynthia welcomed us like usual. Welcome back, Cynthia said brightly. Her eyes carried a brief hint of that night. We sat at the counter and ordered our usual whiskey. Outwardly, everything seemed the same, but a silent bond had grown among us. How's it going? Nolan asked, wiping a glass. The question seemed casual, but it held a hidden meaning. Same as always, I replied. Nothing too exciting. Elizabeth and Cynthia talked softly to each other. To anyone else, they seemed like typical friends, but their eyes sparkled with a knowing look. The night went by smoothly, yet our dynamic had changed just a bit. Having crossed a line once, we were tighter but more careful. Weeks later, evenings at Smith's Bar turned into a staple of our routine. That night occasionally came up in conversation, but it was always kept as our personal secret. That experience tightened our bond, don't you think? I said to Elizabeth one evening on the way home. Weirdly, I think so too, she replied with a smile. That time we stepped out ended up strengthening us. I felt the same. That forbidden experience had brightened the pleasures of our daily life. Our relationship with Nolan and Cynthia stayed solid. We started spending more time together outside the bar, and a real friendship grew. Sometimes, in the quiet of dawn, I'd wake up thinking of that night with Cynthia. It wasn't guilt, but a cherished memory, carved as a singular moment in my life. Did Elizabeth feel the same? I'd muse, studying her face. About 6 months later, Nolan called with surprising news. We're actually closing the bar next month. Why? I asked, surprised. He laughed. We want to shake things up. Cynthia and I are moving to Florida. I felt a twinge of sadness, but also wanted to cheer on their new adventure. Come by on the last day. We'll put together a special dinner, Cynthia said over the phone. Wouldn't miss it, Elizabeth replied brightly. On the final day, we visited Smith's Bar. The place was buzzing with a special vibe. The food was fancier than usual, served with top-shelf whiskey. Thanks for everything, Nolan said, raising a glass. Especially with you two, we created some lasting memories. We're the ones who should be thanking you, Elizabeth said, smiling, for the incredible memories. The four of us toasted with our glasses, swapping stories of the past. That night was touched on indirectly. Will we see each other again? I asked as we prepared to leave. Cynthia smiled. Of course. Even far apart, our friendship will endure. We exchanged final goodbyes and left the bar. Watching the sign fade into the distance, it felt like a chapter had closed. Walking home arm in arm with Elizabeth under the starry sky, her face glowed beautifully. Meeting those two was something special, wasn't it? I said. Yeah, she nodded. Sometimes life needs an unexpected adventure. I'm glad you're by my side, I said sincerely. Elizabeth squeezed my arm and smiled quietly. Our silence spoke more than words could. A year passed. We got occasional updates from Nolan and Cynthia, who were settling well into their new life in Florida. Our life continued peacefully. Passing by where Smith's Bar once stood sometimes brought back that night's memory, not as regret, but as a precious moment in our lives. Our bond with Elizabeth grew deeper, our trust and understanding stronger. That one moment of stepping out had, in a way, fortified our connection. One weekend, Nolan called, inviting us to visit them in Florida. Should we go? I asked Elizabeth. She smiled. Absolutely. That experience was enough as a one-time thing. Planning the Florida trip, I looked at Elizabeth's smile. I no longer saw Cynthia's shadow in her. Now it was only my wife I saw. Life sometimes leads us down unexpected paths. They're not always wrong. What matters is what we learn and how we grow from them. For us, that reckless night deepened our relationship. It helped us know, understand, and respect each other more. The evening sky stretched out before us, the red sunset fading into purple. Elizabeth sat beside me, her shoulder against mine. Feeling her warmth, I smiled quietly. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "Our past and our future. It'll be a beautiful future, won't it?" "Yeah, absolutely." We watched the sunset together, savoring the calm moment. Life's truths are often found in turbulent waves. Reuniting with Nolan and Cynthia would mark the start of a new story shaped by our choices. Someday, looking back on this time, we'll smile, perhaps with a touch of embarrassment, but as a cherished memory we can share. The first star twinkled in the night sky. A quiet thrill of a new journey stirred in my heart. Holding Elizabeth's hand tightly, I looked toward the path ahead. Our story as a foursome had ended, but our story continued. And isn't that the beauty of life? In the stillness of the night, our bond shone as the only certain light, illuminating the darkness.